This building is a historical landmark, a true American original. It had all of the ingredients of greatness, but it had been neglected and left to deteriorate for many, many decades. It sat there so beautiful and so empty and was falling into a very, very bad state of condition. It had the foundation for success. All of the elements were here. Our job was to restore its former glory, honor its heritage, but also to imagine a brand new and exciting vision for the future.
That was then candidate Trump speaking at the opening of the Trump International Hotel 2 weeks before the 2016 presidential election. But that very building is now facing scrutiny in a lawsuit that accuses President Trump of profiting from his presidency. Attorneys general in both Maryland and Washington, D.C. have issued subpoenas seeking records from the Trump Organization and several federal agencies. They allege President Trump is in violation of clauses in the Constitution which bar a U.S. president from profiting off foreign governments or individual states. They are called the emoluments clauses. Tami Abdollah has been reporting on this case for the Associated Press. She joins me now from Washington. Welcome, Tami. Thanks for being with us. First off, would you explain for our viewers what the emoluments clauses are exactly?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for having me. The emoluments clauses, they're Revolutionary War era clauses that were really created by the founders because at the time there was huge worry about the independence of the president. And whether a foreign government, or for that matter, one of the states, could influence the president and create policy that wasn't really for the entire country, but for that one state or foreign entity. And so the idea was that the emoluments clauses would prevent government officials from taking actions that really benefit them as opposed to the country which they're supposed to be serving.
So then why do the Maryland and D.C. attorneys general believe the president is in violation of these clauses?
They believe that because President Trump did not divest entirely from his assets, he's still actually the ultimate beneficiary of the monies that are spent at his hotels, frankly, around the world, but as well as but also in Washington, D.C. The Trump International Hotel is just steps away from the White House, and they argue that foreign diplomats and foreign governments, as well as state governments, have stayed there, and that in doing so, they're providing the president with a benefit, a gift, money in the form of hotel rooms, for example, that then may allow them to curry his favor and get actions done on their behalves.
So he could have prevented any of this legal action if he had just divested himself from any of the profits from the Trump hotel chain. Is that correct?
Well, yes. I mean, the case wouldn't really have a leg to stand on if the president wasn't still ultimately owner of right. all of these properties, yes.
Okay, so now subpoenas have gone to the Trump Organization, several federal agencies, the state of Maine, even several competitors of Trump hotels. Why are the Maryland and D.C. attorneys general interested in receiving documents from these particular parties? It seems to be quite a broad array of parties.
Yeah, I mean, so this is really just the first round of discovery, too. I mean, there'll probably be many different subpoenas asked for later on as well. But I mean, in this first round, there were 37 entities. 18 of those dealt with Trump-related businesses. And a lot dealt with the old post office building itself, so where the Trump International Hotel is housed, as well as businesses that are related to that, so that, businesses that were created for its management and such, as well as the Trump Organization itself. And then you have restaurants in the D.C. and Maryland areas, and businesses like conference centers and hotels. And basically, the idea for a lot of these is that the case revolves around the concept that Donald Trump's businesses have an unfair advantage. If there's a competitive argument here, that they are that because Trump is president and he has all these properties, people go there instead of other hotels and restaurants, and that it's harming Maryland and D.C. because they're not getting that money. So they're really trying to make their case with evidence that shows that the hospitality industry has been impacted. Places people would normally go to, they're not going to anymore. But also they want to get an understanding of how the Trump Organization's finances work and where that money goes and how it ultimately benefits the president, Donald Trump. There were also requests for.
So is that sort of intent, though, hard to prove, the intent of a consumer? I mean, without asking everyone, why did you choose this hotel versus another hotel? How can it really become clear that they chose the Trump Tower Hotel because it has the Trump name? How can they actually figure out the intent of the consumer?
Right. Well, I mean, I think consumer intent is probably not something they will go into because it is pretty murky, but they can look at just the financial aspects in and of themselves. The fact that money's being spent there, that the Trump, the president, after he became president, he made a pledge that he was going to go above and beyond and make sure that nobody, that there weren't any ethical questions about him, and he went and said that they were going to donate profits from his D.C. hotel and sort of similar entities to the Treasury Department. In fact, the Treasury Department was also one of the entities subpoenaed, in addition to several other government agencies, because they want to determine how that money, what sort of conversations took place, communications that occurred for that donation. But the donation that was made was about $151,000+ and. I mean, you have Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the Philippines, many other diplomats or government dignitaries staying at the hotel. So
that does seem like a small figure. But quickly, Tami, what has been the reaction of the Department of Justice?
Department of Justice has said that they've basically challenged the entire lawsuit. They fought back at every turn and tried to put a stop to it. They tried to do a mid-case appeal. That failed. Federal Judge Massetti in Maryland basically said that he was concerned about efforts to delay the case. And then now they've said that they are planning to go ahead with a petition for to seek a writ of mandamus. That would be an extraordinary measure by the Justice Department's own words. And that effort ultimately requires them to prove that the federal judge, Massetti, was clearly wrong. I mean, that's one of the things that has to be proven about how he decided whether to allow the case to go forward. Right. I mean, that would also be heard in a higher court out of Richmond, Virginia, which tends to lean more toward the left. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if they do that.
Indeed. Tami, Abdollah, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.